amazingness is on the other side of that fear. It's about having impact on community. Now, I've also had the opportunity to have amazing guests throughout this year and this journey because sky's really the limit. Hi, thank you for joining yet another episode of Get Set with Lissette. This has been a labor of love, a journey of self, and a blessing to be able to share space with so many amazing people. I wanted to take a moment because at the end of years past, and anytime one year ends and another one begins, by nature, we tend to come up with New Year's resolutions. We tend to consider what we want to accomplish and where we want ourselves to go. And in that same regard, though, in order to know where you're headed, it's really important to know where you've come. So I wanted to take an opportunity to just reflect on the conversations I've had the opportunity to have since starting this venture, reflect on me today versus me at the beginning of this venture, reflect on self. But as always, as we've continued to evolve, I want to also provide you with information on why it's important, some stats on how this shows up and how individuals are able to utilize self-reflection and what it does and what it builds, and then just key ways to begin that practice if you're not the kind of person that reflects. So, a 2015 study in psychological science showed that people who engage in reflective learning, reviewing mistakes and successes, show better problem-solving skills and higher overall performance. Year-end reflection often includes looking back on what went wrong and learning from it, which can accelerate personal development. So let's go further. In a survey by Psychology Today, over 80% of participants said that self-reflection led them to feel more satisfied with their lives. This includes both looking back on achievements and acknowledging personal growth. According to a report from the American Psychological Association, the APA, mindfulness and self-reflection practices can significantly reduce stress and anxiety. Specifically, people who engage in regular reflective practices report 27% lower levels of stress than those who don't. There's this concept, this idea around growth mindset. So for context, growth mindset is the belief that abilities, intelligence, and talents are not fixed traits, but can be developed and improved over time through effort, learning, and persistence. This concept was introduced by psychologist Carol Dweck in her research on motivation and achievement. Carol Dweck, that psychology on the growth mindset, suggests that individuals who regularly reflect on their abilities and experiences, including at year's end, are more likely to improve their performance and develop resilience over time. People with a growth mindset are 35% more likely to embrace challenges and learn from past failures. So I wanted to provide that context because, again, being that it's the end of the year, being that one year ends and another one begins, I started by saying that I'm a person who reflects. I'm a person, we all tend to create New Year's resolutions, but how do you know where to go if you don't take a moment to reflect on where you've come from or what has happened? And so Get Set with Lissette in its entirety has been as I've said time and time again, a labor of love. It was a passion, an idea, a something in my gut that was telling me that I wanted to live by my favorite quote, be the change you wish to see in the world, Gandhi, and sprinkle a little joy and happiness. However, I didn't necessarily, when I got started, think about what that really meant, what the community that has organically been built would look like, and where this journey would actually take me. So, this moment here is more of a recap. So, if you're a new listener, if this is your first time coming in, hey, have no fear. I'm going to recap and give you glimpses of every episode that has dropped up until this point, discuss what that meant for me and to me. But by all means, venture back. Go back and look at what's already been shared, because these quick glimpses are not going to give the experiences and the conversations that have been had in its totality. I cannot say it enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but when I say that I have legitimately been on a journey of having inspiring conversations that empower you to get set, that's what's happening here. So let's talk about the journey in and of itself. Get Set with Lissette, episode 1, dropped September 17th of 2024, this year. In that episode, I discussed the venture, my process behind it. I allowed you to learn me and know who I am as a person. And the idea behind that first episode was simply to try my best to show you my heart, discuss with you my experiences in the past, my past in social services, the fact that, and I always tell you guys, quick plug, because this platform is funded by my real estate business, as I am a licensed realtor in Central Pennsylvania. Promo over. The journey was simply to give you an idea of the why behind Get Set with Lissette. The idea of having those inspiring conversations. The fact that I wanted to live by my favorite quote. I want to be the change that I hope to see in the world. The concept that we live in a world, especially with social media, where information is at an all-time high. And at the end of the day, what we see are simply highlight reels, the best of the best. And we don't take the time to really either interpret what that means to us, or I can't, I won't, whatever it is that we see in someone else, and whether you have a passion for it as well, or you're interested in something, there's a fear that comes from, I can't do it because of, and we create so many excuses as to the whys we can't, that we don't allow ourselves to dream bigger, hope for better, and do more. So this platform was to address that. My idea was that if I am inspired by a person's story, if I can resonate with, whether it was multiple guests, whether it was an idea of coming out of something traumatic, whether it's a matter of a mindset shift or a business venture, if it resonated with me, I had to believe that it could resonate with you. And so now I'm just reflecting on that. So I share that aspect of me. I discuss the fact that I come from social services and a social work background. My entire life has been based upon being the change I hope to see in the world, and the idea of having community impact, improving this world with any little bit that I could. And now finding an opportunity to create a platform of empowerment and encouragement where we build each other up, where there is no fingers pointed. I mean, I read your comments. I do my best to respond to all of them. And I love that every single week, what I see is, you got this. That was amazing. Your story's inspiring. and we are encouraging each other. That's important to me. It's important to maintain that integrity. It's important to keep that fulfillment and the safe space, should I say, that we're building here, and the ability to have conversations that are extremely vulnerable in nature, showing you my heart and hoping that you get some good out of it. Other solo episodes that I've done on self have been, I did another on change and the importance of it. I used another quote, which is, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Albert Einstein. And in that episode, we talked about the different areas of change that one can embark on, whether it was spiritual, physical, emotional, relationship, financial, right? Professional. You name it, we discussed it. And the reason for it is because you cannot move forward or do anything different if you continue to do the same things that you have always done. At some point or another, change has to occur. Whether it is, I don't like the way I look physically, so I need to either change my eating habits, incorporate more physical activity, right? The idea of working out and the regimen of that sort. The concept of sleeping better and having a more routine approach at your life. All of those things can have a direct effect with your physicality, right? So if you want to not be where you are physically, a change has to occur. We discussed the importance of mindfulness. And, if emotionally or mentally you are not in a space or in the place that you want to be, at some point, a change has to happen. So again, that episode discussed, and I don't ever speak from a place of, hey, you should. I can only ever give you information based upon personal experience and things that I've gone through myself. I always give the disclaimer that I am by no means a mental health professional. I am only an individual who has done some things in her life, has had a few experiences, and has learned from those different experiences, and now giving my heart of it and giving, here's what worked for me. But by all means, lean on people. If there are relationships in your life that are no longer serving you, change them. And it is never weak to ask for help, whether that is to a loved one, somebody you trust. And yes, we promote positive mental health awareness here. So it's okay to ask for help from a mental health professional. We've spoken to several on this platform. I have continued to lead these conversations with the fact that I am a woman of faith. And so we discuss mindfulness. We discuss the importance of believing in something higher than yourself, the importance of having faith, of having time, whether it is just moments of quiet in the morning to just meditate, align yourself, pray. All of these ideas were things that I discussed in the change episode because it's important. I also got very vulnerable. I discussed an extremely toxic relationship that I had experienced in my life. I shared bits and pieces of who I was in that moment, the fact that I loved this gentleman more than I loved myself in the darkest of moments. I shared with you the ugly, the where I was in those points, the fact that I no longer wanted to even live at some points, having those moments that were so low that I did not see an out. I did not know how to break free, what I should do. And I bore my heart and soul in the fact that I know women who have constantly said that could never be me. I know it because I was one of them. And I said then, and I'll say it now, you don't know what you're willing to accept in a situation until you're faced with it. And can I just share with you guys the amount of love that I received when that episode dropped was overwhelming. That episode was probably one of the first episodes that I had recorded because at the time of building Get Set with Lissette, I believed in the importance of showing you my heart and bearing my soul so that if I'm vulnerable and I'm sharing the strength that vulnerability has and the fact that I believe in that now, I cannot have an expectation for others to be vulnerable with me if I do not lead the way and show what that looks like. So I gave you that. I allowed you to see probably the darkest of times with me. And in the beauty of that moment, I had such an amazing response. The amount of anxiety that I was feeling prior to the episode dropping, fear of persecution, fear of judgment, fear of the responses, the comments, the what ifs, the what if I'm, viewed as this horrible person, or what if I'm viewed as a victim, and we discussed this in that episode. I have a fear of even being considered a victim and or survivor because both words hold such weight and such stigma that I did not want to have as a part of me and my story. Why? Because I had created a persona, right, of strength. I had, especially in my background in social services, there was a level of importance that I felt that I needed to carry on being a beacon of strength and being the person that others could lean on because I wanted to be the change I wish to see in the world, because I wanted to do what I could to help. And I've learned that sharing me is another way to help. Sharing my story and bringing light and being a voice to others that may at times feel voiceless. Allowing my experience to come to the forefront, right? Provided a space for others to say, I'm not alone. She gets it. She's been there. Provided opportunities to create conversation surrounding the toxicity of cycles, right? And, at times we can hide away from the ugliness that is toxic relationships because we create these ideas that if you fight back, if you get your hits in, if you're just as much of a equal participant, then by no means can that mean that that what's happening to you is wrong. And yet, as I shared, two truths can very much be true. You can very much look at where you are in life, take accountability and inventory on your actions, your way of responding, your part in a situation, and it is not okay. You do not deserve to be hurt, hit, put down, made to feel less than, ridiculed, you name it, abused. Both can be true. It is important to do the work on self. It is important to be accountable, but it's also important to call something out for what it is. And if you ever find yourself in a situation that is greater than what you can handle, ask for help. Lean on your supports. Do not hide away, push aside, escape, try. Don't do it. In efforts of trying to protect in the past, I've done that so much that it was at the detriment of me. I know what that's like. Don't do it. I also discuss imposter syndrome. The fact that for whatever reason or another, I have at different points of my life struggled with worthiness, with the idea that I am capable, able, in the right seat, in the right place. I am enough. That concept in and of itself was hard for me to accept. It was hard for me to accept because, let's also face it, a lot has happened in my life. There have been different situations that have gone on that have put me in places and spaces mentally and emotionally that have created a different narrative. And it has taken work, okay? Work to reframe those ideas about self. I know what that looks like. I know what that means. And I'm here to tell you to stop it. If you are in a situation where you're questioning whether or not you should be in something, or whether or not you should do something, or whether or not you're the one to whatever it is, if it's in your heart, then yes, you are the one that needs to do it because it's in you. We are each beautifully and uniquely made. And if you have something in you that feels like something's brewing, I can't shake this, I don't know my why, I don't know what it is, but there's something there, sit with it. Consider it. Move from a place of acceptance and abundance and say, if it's in me, then it will come out through me. And push through those fears and anxieties, because I promise you, beauty and amazingness is on the other side of that fear. You always experience the best of whatever it is on the opposite side of fear. Because I promise you that I don't move after the fear. I push through it. Because through it, guys. When I say this entire platform is being done through the fear of it all, because I believe in it now. And I know that there's a reason for it. And at this point, it's no longer about me. It's about everyone else. It's about the community. It's about having impact on community and allowing you to know that if there is something in your heart, if there is something in your spirit, if you believe that you want to stop doing something, that you need to get out of something that's no longer serving you, that you want to do something else, that you want to venture, then you have to. You have to, because it's in you. So those are the episodes that I discussed on self. Me just staring at this camera like I'm doing right now. And what I can say about those episodes is that I learned a lot about me. I learned that I'm stronger than I've given myself credit for. I've learned that I have a voice, I have a story, and it is worthy to be shared. I've realized that I'm speaking to my younger me, which is the reason why I organically feel like at the end of episodes that I've had with guests, I always ask them, what is the advice that you would give your younger you? And that developed and happened organically because I've come to accept that I'm speaking to a younger me in every single episode. I want to be the woman, the person that I needed in my darkest moments. As I sit and reflect and I'm preparing for yet another year's time, I'm proud. I'm proud that I took a leap of faith. I'm happy that I am doing something in the midst of fear. I am learning to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm excited to see what else comes from that. Because sky's really the limit. Now, I've also had the opportunity to have amazing guests throughout this year and this journey. And again, let us also just reflect on the fact that my first episode aired on September 17th, so in the latter half of the year. And even in that, the people that I had the opportunity and the ability to share space with, each and every one of them in their entire person are inspiring, are inspirational in themselves because of, not due to them, but because of them choosing to go further and choosing to be more. So let's talk on it. First guest I ever had was my tribe, the women that have seen me, held me, and uplifted me in so many different points of my life. We shared the beauties and the not so pretty parts of motherhood. Mind you, we'll have to see on the next reflection what happens in the future, as I am by no means, I'm not a mother. I am auntie of the year. I am auntie goals. But we talked about how life changed after becoming moms. My girl talked about the fact that motherhood is ghetto, and yet it was also one of the best experiences that they had ever experienced in their lives. We shared and experiences, we shared stories, and we poured into each other love and acceptance, and we're literally just ourselves here on this show. In that episode, there were moments of reflectiveness in and of itself. We shared the points that, no one talks about, the moments where they were really low, times when Courtney, Annette, and Diana, that is my tribe on that episode. And Courtney shared her heart. She shared when she felt like she didn't know that she was going to be able to keep going. And I know moms out there, you know those moments. You know when you are literally on E, you've got nothing left in your gas tank and you're wondering and grasping for air and so uncertain on, how am I going to make this work? Courtney talked about that. She shared moments that are extremely vulnerable. She shared how scary those things were. But above all, the resounding feeling from all three of them was that in the end, love conquers all. The love that they had for their children was beyond anything they could ever experience. The network and the support that we've created for each other was at every point needed. We had moments where we had to apologize to one another because, you don't know what someone else is going through when you can't relate. You're not in that same space. You're not in that place in life. And in those moments, it's hard to, at times, understand what exactly someone's going through. So there was a moment of reflection there in the middle of the conversation where we were able to say, wow, I didn't realize, I didn't know what was going on. I'm so sorry that, you had to feel as though you had to go through it alone. And we poured love into each other. And above all, the bond, the tribe, the love that us four share for each other comes through. I also shared an episode with Heather. And Heather is a traumatic brain injury survivor. In that conversation, she discussed the importance of resilience. The fact that, doctors and treatments were being told that, per medicine, you get X amount of physical therapy and that was it. She talked about the importance of having support as well, the importance that her mom and dad were in her lives, and the fact that they continue to push for her and they continue to advocate on her behalf to ensure that she got the treatment that was necessary. But above all, there was a resounding resilience and strength within to want to do better, to rebuild her entire life, to learn how to walk again, talk again, do everything again in her adulthood. And the importance of continually having to try again, because if at any given point, she sits for too long, or, if there's a point where she gets sick, like that muscle memory is lacking. So she has to at times almost start from scratch again. But in that conversation, there was again a need for community, a need for leaning on one another and having a lot of faith in self. That episode was really, really special when I thought back on it, because while you saw that one episode, what you don't see is the weeks of prep. The fact that Heather and I sat down with each other in my living room week after week after week to prepare her for this episode. It was important. As someone who does not have a TBI, traumatic brain injury, she talked about the importance of someone who doesn't have one. If you're surrounded, if you come across another person who has a TBI, or if you're with someone, there's an important aspect of grace that needs to be held for that individual. Understanding that, at times you may have to repeat yourself, that at times, being accepting of, a person's progress was evident in that conversation. I spoke with Nina, who at the time of that conversation, she was actively going through her breast cancer journey. In that conversation, she shared her will to live and knew she had to get through the chemotherapy and all of the treatment that she had to go through. And she believed in her heart of hearts that she had to push through for her daughters. She has an unwavering faith in God. Her strength and will to live was humbling for me. In thinking back on that conversation, I spent the entire time holding back tears, because I don't know if and I like to think that I am a pretty good, I have a pretty good sense of self. I know my shortcomings, and I know where I'm good at. And while I am a strong individual, and I do pride myself on that, I remember sitting with her and wondering, would I have the same foresight? Could I respond in these moments the way that she is? She chose, and she discusses it in her episode, that she had, moments with God, and not moments of why, not the woe is me, not the how could you, why would you, Lord, help me understand. It was, if you've brought me here and to this point, I am trusting that you will see me through. There must be a reason I am going through this. And Lord, I'm asking you to help me find that and be the voice that I need to be for others. She again took something internal and chose to push it to allow herself to be a voice for others in the midst of breast cancer journey. I am happy to report that since that episode, Nina has completed her chemotherapy. She has, started in radiation, and we are lifting her up in prayers because she is today cancer-free, and we pray that she continues to be. I also had an opportunity to speak with Betsy and Lexi, right? These were two boss women, entrepreneurs who both started businesses during COVID. One has a body contouring business. The other had a nail business, nail shop. Both of these women, without realizing it, both had started their journeys at the time when the world shut down. So what did I learn in that episode? That rather than staying stuck, rather than stopping, rather than getting, stuck on the, well, what now? They chose to take those situations that they were faced with and make something out of it. They created something out of that stillness. They looked to improve themselves. They looked to build during a time of stillness. Both women, both amazing entrepreneurs, have continued to build on those assets, opened up shops. They discussed the process of building their businesses. They discussed the blood, sweat, and tears that it took. They also shared that they did things in spite of, not because of, hey, here's a great opportunity. Hey, no, it was in spite of. Neither of them came from a lot. Both came from humble beginnings, and both chose to be different, to do more, to think greater and higher, and had a resounding faith in self. And they also had a network of support, and they discussed that. I also had a conversation with Sierra, a trauma recovery coach. That conversation discussed generational trauma, right? Breaking family cycles. We discussed the concept of being a cycle breaker. The idea that you can make a decision to stop whatever it is that's going on in your family, whatever trauma you've experienced, whatever family secret, whatever has been going on. I found beauty in the fact that she discussed that she didn't have to have conversations with the whole entire family. She didn't need to go backwards. There was no need for that. If you are making a decision to make a change, it can change with you. It can stop with you. There is an ability to choose to be better, reframe, and we talked about reframing and the idea of what reframing was, and the breaking old ideas, old thoughts, old habits, and reframing them into new ones, right? The concepts of what triggers look like, identifying those triggers, and the ability to move past them. There is something beautiful to be said about being aware of where you are, right? And understanding what that looks like for you. But even more importantly, choosing to do more. Choosing that if where you are today is not serving you, finding ways to move past it is beautiful. we had a conversation with Maisha. Maisha, let's just be real. If you haven't watched that episode yet, you need to. In that episode, the idea and the concept for that was originally to promote, which if you haven't done so yet, please do so, supporting her children's cookbook, right? She does cooking class. She's a personal chef who does cooking classes. She had 3 different cookbooks available. And she also is the executive chef for Downtown Daily Bread, which is a local Harrisburg homeless shelter and homeless program that provides support to meals, mail services, and opportunities to come in and shower and everything else for individuals that find themselves in homelessness. I took more out of that conversation than I think she even recognizes. Maisha exuded love. She created things based upon desire to do for others. She discusses the love that she has in the community that she's built. She talks about with fervor and passion the genuine love that she feels when she's cooking with these children. And it's not just the children that she's impacting, but she's impacting the lives of the entire family unit. She is becoming, in theory, a co-parent to the community of children that she has had the opportunity to service. In that arena, we discussed the concept of going back to a communal environment, the idea that it does take a village. We talk about the importance of giving back to the community. And she also discusses that she's not afraid to follow. And she's not afraid to come from a place of, if doors are opening for her in the midst of her following different individuals, different people she's come in contact with, she continues to allow herself to be open to those opportunities and finding ways to use those opportunities to have a direct positive correlation to the families that she has an opportunity to service. Her heart was seen in that. And I am forever impacted and changed in having that time with her because of the fact that I can say without a shadow of a doubt, and I have given flowers and I will continue to give flowers to the people that I've had the opportunity to share space with, that woman exudes love, exudes acceptance, and genuinely wants to help. We also had moments where we did a full wine tasting. I got to experience different wines, understand what that means. We prepared you for the holidays. I hope to have seen all of the different meals that were made, the pairings with the wines, and in that conversation, one would think it's just wine, right? We're just trying wine. And yet, Shar discussed making a way and utilizing something because she was trying to break through a door. There were opportunities that she was being looked over and passed by, and there was an excuse made that she didn't have X amount of education. She couldn't apply for certain positions because of, while she had the experience, there was an education component to it. She didn't let that deter her. She literally, in her adult, grown age, said, I'm going back then. And she pushed through. She went back and she got the degree needed so that excuses were eliminated. Reasons why they continued to overlook her were gone. And she talks about wine got her through it. And guess what else? Wine then paid for it. She made an entire business built on the same wine that helped her through her studies to then pay back the degree that she went and got. And so when I think back on that conversation, something uplifting and fun like wine tasting also has a base of don't get stuck. Don't accept excuses. If someone says you can't do this based off of X, Y, and Z, eliminate X, take care of Y, and get rid of Z. Okay? She shared what that looked like and what that meant to her. And for fun, we then also dropped so many gems on how to pair foods with wine and create an amazing dinner party experience. But again, the base of it, another inspiring conversation of someone who said, it stops here. You will not overlook me again. I know that I am worth this. So let me take away the excuse that you've got, and let me go ahead and show you what I can do. I'm gonna be right back. Like, that was her attitude. She went, she got it, she did it, and she came back, and she pushed through. I also spoke to one of the most talented men, and honestly, the only man that I actually shared space with during this first season, artist, King Prolific. If you haven't seen his work, I urge you to look at it. And in that conversation, we talked about artistic integrity. We talked about the importance of listening to self, trusting your gut, believing that if you have something in you that you feel is good, putting pen to paper, pen to canvas, or brush to canvas, whatever your artistic expression is, it's art because it comes from you and it was birthed from you. He discussed the importance of staying true to himself. He talked about the artistic process. He discussed staying true to who he was, learning how to say no. At one point, he was accepting all of the opportunities because they were important to him and it was him getting himself out there. But the beauty and the power in having to say no when it wasn't in alignment with him. And again, he found in his own journey the ability to find strength within. And if he feels it, if he believes it, if it comes from him, then bringing it out and sharing it with others is the byproduct. However, he himself had to put something out there based upon just simply, I must, because it's in me to get out. And then I also had a conversation with Latoya. And Latoya talked about being unapologetically authentic. And her entire line, Coco Tulip, is based upon beyond the visual. And not only she is one of our heroes, because teachers are exactly that. She's a teacher by trade, stylist by passion. And we found the correlation between both ventures because it's this concept of being unapologetically, authentically true to who you are inside innately and going beyond the visual. And then I also had an opportunity to have Shaquem and Donna, a great couple, guys, with an amazing product that I can say I use. P.S. It's natural. And in that conversation, their brand was built out of necessity. They created this brand based upon the fact that every person in their household, right? They had 4 daughters and each one has 4 children. I'm so sorry, Donna and Shaquem. 3 girls and a boy. She finally got her boy. But each child has different hair. And so out of necessity, a brand was created because they could not find what was needed out in the current market. So they created it themselves. And in creating it, there's a lot of gems that are built on how to take something that you create out of necessity and build it into a brand. They provided the ideas and the concepts of going past their own ideas of what was. They went past their own fears. And together, one has the creativity and the other one discusses the importance of systems and processes. And I'm excited to watch their venture continue to go. They will be a household name. So you hear it first. All of these conversations led for me to just sit in awe. For every idea that I had, every guest surpassed it. What I didn't know when I started this platform was how these conversations were going to also impact me. So, as I do in every episode, I want to reflect on the key takeaways from every episode I've had up until this point as we end this year. The first key takeaway that I have is to have faith. Have faith in yourself and have faith in something greater than you, whatever place of worship you come from. Me, I am a Christian woman, and I've always held faith. However, these conversations have led me to pray a little harder, dig a little deeper, and believe a little more. So sit with that. Find something to have faith in that's greater than just you, because you need to believe in yourself first, but you also have to have a faith in something greater, as that is what's going to allow you the ability to push through the hard times, to lean on when there's no one else or nothing around you. And there's just something beautiful to be said about finding peace within. The second key takeaway that I have realized I've learned in the midst of all of these amazing things as I reflect is this resounding idea of resilience. You know, the concept of resilience is this idea of, rising above, pushing past circumstance, the ability to be strong and push through. And whether it was business ventures or opportunities or moments of need, considering whether it's a traumatic brain injury or a health crisis, like in all of the conversations, resoundingly, there has been a need for resilience. My third takeaway is to push past fear. The greatest things that one can have in their life is always on the other side of whatever that fear is that keeps you from. Fear, at times true and present, and at times made up, regardless of if it's a legitimate fear or something that is outside of, the feeling feels the same. It is disarming. It is, disabling. It can at times feel like it is impenetrable. It is you're unable to move past it. And yet, in every conversation that I've had the opportunity to have, you have to go past the fear. There's a level of taking a leap of faith that has been present, and just trusting in self and pushing past those things. And then my last takeaway that I've considered to have is you have to do the work. First, believe, right? Trust in yourself, push past your fear, but then finally, do the work. And when I say do the work, it's whether you need to sit with self and do the work internally, and deal through whatever hurts, whatever traumas, whatever past things, whatever insecurities you're feeling. I'm not saying that there's not a reason why those things have presented themselves. I'm not saying that there may not be a legitimate reason why they're present. However, do the work and sit with self and get past it. If you want to embark on a new journey, learn something else, do the work. Learn the trade or the industry that you're interested in. Do a pros and cons list and figure out how to get started. Take it a step further. On that cons list, find out, why is it a con, and is this something that's legit, or is it a con that you're creating because of fear, and there's a way to actually make that also a pro, and it's just going to take a learning curve. Build on yourself. Continue to grow and learn and be better. Episode 1 to now are 2 completely different things. Why? Because I did the work. I also, takeaway number 4, whatever, I've also listened to my own self and listened to the opinions and ideas of others. While yes, we've said the background noise and the shoulda, couldas and the wouldas and don't or whatever, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, right? You have to take every concept for what that concept is. Is this something that's being said to me to fulfill me, to help me, to teach me? Is this a teachable moment? What is the lesson in it all, right? Do the work. All of that is part of it, and learn to grow. Perfection is not a thing. You cannot wait for the perfect moment, that perfect time, the perfect concept. You have to just do and then perfect, right? As time goes on, progress over perfection. That's the biggest thing. So I say all that to say, this has been a venture of love. I really have just been sitting down with self and I'm amazed at the platform that's being created here. I love that every conversation has a lot of, similar attributes. And I just wanted to take a moment as we prepare for, this year's end and a new year to come, to just reflect with you, to speak to you on this journey, and to again give you some tangible takeaways, because you are worthy, and you are enough. So as always, guys, sending light, sending love. Happy New Year. Bye.